They were worried because King Emeka and Queen Chioma did not have a child. The king's advisors and important people in the kingdom urged him to take another wife to have a baby. But King Emeka loved Queen Chioma too much and refused to share his heart with another. Once upon a time, in a beautiful village called Njaba, there lived a king and queen. Their names were King Emeka and Queen Chioma. They loved each other very much, and their love was like a beautiful story. King Emeka always protected his queen and never let anyone say anything bad about her. "I love you, Chioma," King Emeka would often say, his eyes shining with happiness. "You are my everything. I cannot imagine a life without you." Queen Chioma would smile and blush. "I love you too, my king," she would reply. "You are my everything. I cannot imagine a life without you by my side." Their love was pure and true, and the kingdom was happy because of them. But as the years went by, the people in the kingdom began to whisper. They were worried because King Emeka and Queen Chioma did not have a child. The king's advisors and important people in the kingdom urged him to take another wife to have a baby. But King Emeka loved Queen Chioma too much and refused to share his heart with another. Queen Chioma knew about the pressure on her husband. She held his hand and looked into his eyes. "My dear king, do not worry about what the people are saying. We will have a child, a beautiful child who will be our heir. Have faith in us, in our love and in God." King Emeka's face lit up with hope. "You really believe so, my love?" "I do," Queen Chioma said. Her voice strong. "We are young and God is on our side. Our love is strong and it will bring us a beautiful child." 5 long years had passed and the kingdom became more worried. But Queen Chioma's words stayed in King Emeka's heart. Then one day, they received wonderful news. Queen Chioma was going to have a baby. The kingdom celebrated, and King Emeka held his wife close, thanking God for their blessing. 9 months later, Queen Chioma gave birth to a beautiful son. The whole kingdom was filled with joy. Queen Chioma was a loving mother and protected her baby closely. 3 days later, Queen Chioma took her baby for his immunization. She wanted to carry him herself and asked her maid to wait in the car. At the health center, she felt a sudden need to use the restroom. The nurses offered to hold the baby, but Queen Chioma refused. "Please, I will take him with me," she said, holding her baby tightly. As she went into the bathroom, the baby started to fuse. A cleaner named Norma was passing by, and Queen Chioma handed the baby to her, asking her to wait outside. Norma, who had no children of her own, felt a strong desire to keep the baby. She looked at the baby's face and felt a surge of love. She decided to take the baby and run away. "Oh, what a beautiful child," Norma said, looking at the baby. "Yes, he is," Queen Chioma replied with a smile. "Please just wait outside with him until I'm done." But when Queen Chioma came out of the bathroom, Norma and the baby were gone. Queen Chioma searched everywhere, calling for her baby and the cleaner, but there was no response. "Where is my child?" she cried out. "Where is the cleaner who was holding him?" The nurses and staffs searched everywhere and even went to Norma's home, but she had already packed her things and fled. Meanwhile, Norma had taken the baby and left through the back door of the health center. She climbed over the fence and ran to her small hut on the outskirts of the kingdom. She packed her belongings and fled, leaving behind her life in the kingdom. Back at the health center, Queen Chioma was frantic. King Emeka was summoned and came immediately. When he heard the news, He was furious. He gathered his guards and searched every corner of the kingdom. "Find my son," he roared. "Find him or face my wrath." The search continued, but the baby and Noma were nowhere to be found. The kingdom was in chaos, and King Emeka was filled with grief and worry. He loved his wife and child very much and would do anything to find them. Back at the palace, Queen Chioma was in tears. She had never been away from her baby before and could not bear the thought of someone else holding him. King Emeka, equally distraught, launched another search party. Days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months. The kingdom was still in chaos, and the king's anger and desperation grew. He began to change towards Queen Chioma. He became distant and cold, and their love seemed to fade. "You were supposed to protect our child," he said angrily. "You failed me, Chioma. You failed our son." Queen Chioma was heartbroken. She had never seen him like this before. The love they once shared was slipping away. Meanwhile, Noma was hiding with the baby. She had taken him and was determined to keep him as her own. She knew she had done something terrible, but she felt a strong love for the baby. And so the kingdom continued to search for the missing prince. King Emeka and Queen Chioma were heartbroken, but they did not give up hope. They believed that one day they would find their son and bring him back home. Norma never thought her life would change so much. She had always been kind and caring, but her desire for a child was strong. Now, living in a new city with the prince, she was acting as his mother, giving him lots of love and care. Even though she had taken the prince in a way that was wrong, Norma felt a strong connection to him. She always wanted a child to love, and now she had one. She tried not to feel guilty and focused on being the best mother she could be. She named the prince Obinna. He brought her so much happiness. His smiles and curious nature made her heart happy. Norma spent her days playing with him, teaching him new things and watching him grow. The people in her new city admired how she took care of Obinna. They often said how lucky he was to have such a loving mother. Norma would smile and feel proud when she heard this. As Obinna grew, Norma noticed how much he looked like King Emeka and Queen Chioma. Sometimes she would stare at him and wonder about his real parents and the life he was supposed to have. But she pushed these thoughts away and focused on the life they had together. Despite all the love she gave him, Norma couldn't forget that she had taken the child. She knew she was not his true mother, and this made her feel sad sometimes. Back in the kingdom, 3 years had passed since the prince disappeared. Emeka had changed a lot towards Queen Chioma. He no longer treated her with love. Instead, he was cold and distant, blaming her for her lost son. Queen Chioma tried everything to win back her husband's love, but nothing worked. She felt very sad and was always careful around him. One day, Queen Chioma found out she was pregnant again. She was nervous but also hopeful that this new baby could bring her and King Emeka closer. She decided to tell him the news, hoping it would make him happy. But King Emeka's reaction was not what she expected. He was still angry and told Queen Chioma that the only way she could regain his love was to give him another son. He said that if this baby was a girl, their marriage would be over. Queen Chioma was heartbroken. She felt like she was being forced to have a boy to save her marriage. She went for an ultrasound to find out the baby's gender, hoping it would be a baby boy. But the ultrasound showed she was having a girl. Queen Chioma felt like her world was falling apart. She cried a lot, knowing that her marriage was in danger. Months passed, and Chioma's pregnancy was almost over. When she went into labor, King Emeka quickly took her to the hospital with his guards. He was very nervous, hoping for a baby boy. The medical team took Chioma to the labor room and the king waited outside, pacing back and forth. Inside the labor room, Chioma was in pain, but the medical team worked hard to help her. Push, Your Majesty, push, the nurse encouraged. After a few more pushes, Queen Chioma gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Instead of joy, Queen Chioma started crying. It's a girl, one of the nurses whispered. In the next labor room, another woman named Sarah was also giving birth. She is crying. Her nurse exclaimed. Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Yes, it's a boy. Her nurse cheered. Queen Chioma, still crying, heard the noise. What's going on? She asked her nurse. The other woman, Sarah, just had a baby boy. The nurse replied. Queen Chioma's eyes filled with desperation. Can I speak to you for a moment? She asked. Of course, Your Majesty, the nurse replied. I'll give you a lot of money if you switch the babies. Queen Chioma whispered urgently. The nurse looked surprised but tempted. I will need to check with my colleague, she said. The queen nodded, her eyes bleeding. A few minutes later, the nurse returned with her colleagues. We will do it, they said together. Without hesitation, they switched the babies. Queen Chioma's baby girl was taken away and Sarah's baby boy was placed in her arms. Just then, King Emeka came into the room, beaming with pride. My son, he exclaimed, taking the baby boy from Queen Chioma. Queen Chioma forced a smile, feeling very guilty. Our son, my love, she said, pretending to be happy. Sarah, still weak from giving birth, didn't know the babies had been switched. Her life was about to change dramatically. Queen Chioma struggled every day to accept what she had done. She had switched her baby girl with Sarah's baby boy to save her marriage and please King Emeka, who wanted a male heir. But the guilt and shame weighed heavily on her heart. Sarah was very happy with her new baby girl, not knowing that she wasn't her real child. She named her Adako and loved her very much. Noma, on the other hand, was living in a new city with Obinna, the real prince. King Emeka was excited about his new son and named him Onyeka. He proudly showed him off to the kingdom, happy to have a male heir. But Queen Chioma's smile hid a deep sadness. She knew the truth, and it was eating away at her. Even though she had switched the babies, Queen Chioma felt empty. She wanted to be a part of her real daughter's life, to watch her grow and be happy. So she made a plan to keep an eye on Sarah and Ada from afar, using her trusted helpers to get information and send her updates every day. She received many photos and videos of Ada's special moments, but it wasn't enough. She wanted a personal connection with Ada without revealing who she really was. So she planned a daring rescue, pretending to save Sarah and Ada from a fake kidnapping attempt. Queen Chioma parked her car a few blocks away from Sarah's house, watching closely. Her phone buzzed with a message from her aide, confirming that the fake kidnappers were ready. As Sarah and Ada came out of the house, Queen Chioma's heart raced. She dialed the number, and the fake kidnappers sprang into action. They grabbed Sarah and Ada, tossing them into a nearby van. Queen Chioma jumped into action, running towards the scene. She fought off the kidnappers with the help of her trained guards, who intervened just in time. In the chaos, she rescued Ada, holding her close. For a moment, she closed her eyes, savoring the feeling of holding her real daughter. With the fake kidnappers subdued, Queen Chioma led Sarah and Ada back to their house. They were scared, and Queen Chioma played the hero, offering comfort and support. As they entered the house, she noticed the poverty around them. Sarah hesitated when she asked about her husband, but Queen Chioma's kind smile made her feel comfortable. Sarah shared her struggles as a single mother, and Queen Chioma's heart went out to her. She promised to help, offering a scholarship for Ada, a new shop for Sarah, and a better home. As Queen Chioma finished speaking, Sarah's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. She felt deeply thankful for the queen's kindness and generosity. She began to kneel to thank Chioma, but the queen quickly stopped her. No, 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 my dear, Chioma said with a warm smile. There is no need for that. From now on, you will be the sister I never had, and Ada will be the daughter I never had. We will be a family bound by love and loyalty. Sarah's eyes shone with happiness as Chioma's word wrapped around her like a warm hug. She felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. Chioma opened her arms and Sarah stepped into them, feeling a sense of homecoming. As they parted ways, Queen Chioma smiled, her eyes on Ada. From this day forward, Ada will be my goddaughter, she said warmly. I'll be there for her always. Queen Chioma returned home, her heart full of joy and her mind racing with the success of her plan. Now, my dear daughter will soon be mine, she thought, a slight smile spreading across her face. I will shower Sarah and Ada with affection, and Ada will naturally prefer me over Sarah. She won't even realize when she is moved in to stay with her godmother, her real mother. Her smile grew wider as she imagined the future. I will have my daughter, my husband's love, and my place as queen. And to secure my legacy, I will ensure Ada and Prince Onyeka become the best of friends. When they come of age, I will ask Prince Onyeka to marry Ada, and my daughter will be mine forever. I have killed two birds with one stone, she thought, proud of her cleverness. She let out a quiet laugh, her eyes sparkling with a mix of happiness and determination. I'm sorry, my God, but I have to be selfish. My daughter's love is worth any cost. I can't lose both of my children, she whispered to herself, remembering the pain of her first child abduction. I've always lost one. I can't lose Ada too. The fear of losing another child was clear in her voice, and her determination to keep Ada close was strong. As time went by, Queen Chioma's love for Ada grew stronger. She gave Ada many gifts and lots of attention, making Ada feel very special. Sarah, Ada's real mother, was thankful for the queen's kindness but started to feel left out of her own daughter's life. Ada spent more and more time at the palace, leaving Sarah to manage her new business and home alone. Prince Onyeka, who used to be the center of Queen Chioma's world, began to feel ignored. He tried to get his mother's attention, but she was always too busy with Ada. This made Prince Onyeka feel jealous and sad, as if he was being replaced. King Emeka, unaware of what was happening, was proud of his son, Prince Onyeka. He didn't notice that Queen Chioma's focus had shifted to Ada. She often cancelled meetings and events to spend time with Ada, taking her on fun trips and buying her fancy clothes. Sarah felt uneasy about the situation. She wanted to spend more time with Ada, but Queen Chioma always found a way to take Ada away, making it hard for Sarah to bond with her own daughter. As the weeks passed, Queen Chioma's obsession with Ada grew. She started making decisions without consulting King Emeka or Sarah, which upset them both. The palace staff began to whisper about the queen's strange behavior and how she was giving more importance to a commoner's child over her own prince. The tension between Queen Chioma and Sarah increased. Sarah felt she was losing her daughter to the queen, while Queen Chioma couldn't understand why Sarah wasn't more grateful for the opportunities she was giving Ada. In the king's chamber, King Emeka was thinking about Prince Onyeka's future. He wanted his son to go to the University of Azura, the best school in the land. Queen Chioma agreed and thought it would also be good for Ada, a bright and talented girl. But King Emeka only wanted to focus on Prince Onyeka and didn't think Ada should go to the same school. Queen Chioma tried to convince him, saying that Ada was her goddaughter and deserved a good future too. She believed in showing kindness to all their people, including Ada. Finally, King Emeka softened. He knew Ada was special to Queen Chioma, so he agreed to think about letting her go to Azura University with Prince Onyeka. This made Queen Chioma very happy. So Ada and Prince Onyeka went to the university together. Their friendship grew and Queen Chioma was very pleased. She even hoped they might get married someday. Ada spent more time at the palace during holidays and didn't go back to Sarah's house as often. Although Sarah missed her daughter, Ada's cheerful letters always made her smile. But things changed. Prince Onyeka started getting angry and blamed Ada for taking his mother's love away. One day at the school, he shouted at Ada, saying she was just a commoner trying to take his mother's attention. A crowd gathered as they argued. Ada felt very hurt by Prince Onyeka's words. Just as he raised his hand to point at her, a student named Obina stepped in, defending Ada. He told Prince Onyeka that he had no right to treat her badly. The crowd gasped as Obina stood up to the prince. Ada's tears stopped and she felt grateful to Obina for protecting her. They didn't know it yet, but fate had brought them together and they shared a special bond. Prince Onyeka was very angry and frustrated. He paced back and forth in his room and then called his mother, Queen Chioma. He shouted that Ada had been insulting him at school and that he wouldn't tolerate it. Queen Chioma listened calmly and asked what Ada had said. Prince Onyeka exaggerated, saying Ada called him a nobody and that she didn't need his friendship. The queen promised to handle it and ended the call. Queen Chioma called Ada and gently asked what was happening between her and Onyeka. Ada explained that Onyeka had been spreading rumors about her and that she had stood up to him because he wasn't being kind. The queen became serious and called Onyeka back, telling him to behave and to stop bullying Ada. She reminded him that Ada was under her protection and that he should try to win her heart, not her anger. Prince Onyeka felt defiant and asked why his mother favored Ada over him. Queen Chioma got very angry and told Onyeka that Ada was important to her and even apologized for being harsh. She told him that Ada was her choosing future daughter-in-law and that he must reconcile with her or he would get nothing from her or the king. Onyeka, still angry, called Ada again. He tried to apologize, but his tone was insincere. He told Ada that his mother wanted them to get married and that she should be grateful. Ada was cautious and asked what Onyeka really wanted. He responded with pride, saying she should be happy that a prince like him wanted to marry her, a commoner. Ada was not pleased. She told Onyeka that she was not grateful for his arrogant attitude and that she had her own dreams and didn't want to be an accessory to his ego. She told him never to call her again and that she didn't want to be forced into a relationship with someone who didn't respect her. Onyeka, now very angry, threatened to stop his mother from paying her school fees, saying she should go back to the slum where she belonged. Ada, hot and frustrated, ended the call. With tears in her eyes, Ada called the queen and told her she couldn't keep pretending to be friends with Onyeka and didn't want the queen to pay her school fees anymore. She wanted to be free from Onyeka and the royal family. The queen was surprised and asked what happened. Ada explained that Onyeka was cruel and manipulative and that she wanted to build her own future without being controlled. The queen tried to interrupt, but Ada insisted and ended the call. Ada then called her new friend, Obina, and poured out her heart, saying that Prince Onyeka was suffocating her. Obina listened and reassured her that she was strong and capable. He encouraged her not to let Onyeka define her worth and to create her own future. After failing to reach Ada, Queen Chioma became very angry and called Onyeka. She fiercely told him not to ruin her plans and that he had to win Ada over or face her wrath. The queen was determined to make sure her plans succeeded, no matter what. Queen Chioma had been trying to call Ada for a whole month, but Ada never answered. Frustrated and worried, Queen Chioma reached out to Sarah. When she asked about Ada, Sarah's response was cryptic. Ada is more like your daughter than mine. She's at school. Determined to reconnect with Ada, Queen Choma decided to visit her at school. When she arrived, she found out that Ada wasn't in her hostel. She asked some of Ada's classmates, who directed her to a secluded walkway where Ada often studied with a boy named Obinna. As the queen approached the walkway, she saw Ada and Obinna laughing and talking happily. Jealousy and insecurity filled her heart. Ada has moved on to another boy, she thought. The queen, still watching from a distance, pulled out her phone and dialed Onyeka's number. "Onyeka, I need you to come to the campus immediately," she said urgently. Onyeka sounded surprised. "Mom, you are on campus?" "Yes, don't ask any more questions. Follow the description I'll be giving you," the queen interrupted. "Come to the walkway near the old oak tree. It's surrounded by trees and has a bench at the end. That's where I am. Come quickly and don't take long," she instructed. "I'm on my way. I'm close by," Onyeka replied. Obinna noticed a stray strand of hair on Ada's face and gently tried to remove it. At that moment, the queen stepped forward, her voice booming. "Young man, stop that," she shouted, her voice echoing through the walkway. "How dare you touch her face? She's my future daughter-in-law, and you will not lay hands on her." Obinna was shocked by the queen's outburst. Ada quickly ran to hug her godmother. "Mom, how are you?" she asked, trying to calm the situation. The queen hugged her back, but soon began shouting, "Why haven't you been answering my calls? Why are you making me worry?" Feeling awkward, Obinna jumped into the conversation. "Good day, ma'am," he said to the queen. "Ada, is she your mother?" Ada replied, "Yes, my godmother." The queen quickly told Ada to answer her questions. Just then, Prince Onyeka appeared and greeted his mother. After a brief conversation between the queen and her son, the queen asked Ada to explain herself. Ada quickly replied, saying she had stopped taking the queen's calls because she didn't want anything to do with Onyeka or the palace anymore. Onyeka responded sarcastically, "Who even want to have anything to do with a pest like you?" Queen Choma interrupted him. "Be quiet," she commanded. She turned to Ada. "I'm sorry about what happened, but I see you as my child, and I want you around. That is why I want you and Onyeka to get along." Ada replied, "I understand, Mom, but I can't. I'm sorry." She grabbed Obinna's arm and tried to leave, but the queen asked her to stop. "Are you walking out on me because of this boy?" she asked sternly. She turned to Obinna and warned him, "Stay away from Ada. If I see you close to her again, you won't like what I will do to you and your entire family." Before Obinna could respond, the queen cut him off. Ada turned to the queen and said, "Obinna and I are just friends. Besides, I don't want anything to do with Onyeka. I'm sorry, Mom." With that, she ran off towards Obinna, leaving the queen and Onyeka behind. The queen's face turned red with anger as she watched Ada run off with Obinna. She turned to Onyeka, her eyes with blazing fury. "This is all your fault," she spat. "You and your careless words. Now she's gone, and I fear she may never come back." Onyeka shrugged. "Unimportant. I merely spoke the truth, mother. She's a pest and a nuisance. We are better off without her." The queen's eyes narrowed, her voice cold and menacing. "You will regret those words, Onyeka. Mark my words." Months passed, and Ada's behavior showed no signs of improving. Queen Chioma, convinced that Ada's closeness to Obinna was the root of the problem, decided to take drastic measures. She hired spies to gather information on Obinna, determined to find his weakness. The spies reported back that Obinna had financial struggles. They discovered that he was the son of a single mother living in a northern state and had been jobless since graduating. The queen believed that offering him a large sum of money would persuade him to stay away from Ada. With this information, the queen and his guards traveled to Obinna's state, arriving late at night. The next day, they stormed Obinna's residence, catching him off guard outside his home. Recognizing the queen, Obinna greeted her respectfully, but the queen responded coldly, "Keep your greetings to yourself, young man." She instructed her guards to give Obinna a bag filled with money. "This should be enough to help you start a new life. Stay away from Ada. I can do anything for the sake, she said. Obinna, unwavering, replied, Ma'am, please take your money and leave. Just then, Norma, Obinna's mother, emerged from the kitchen. Drawn by the commotion, she was shocked to see the queen. The queen looked at Norma and said, I am Queen Chioma. Your son must stay away from Ada. Take this money and make sure he keeps his distance. Norma looked at the bag of money, then at the queen. She took a deep breath and spoke firmly. Your Majesty, we appreciate your offer, but my son and I will not be bought. Obinna and Ada are friends, and money won't change that. The queen's face turned red with anger. You dare defy me? She hissed. Norma stood her ground. We live by our values, Your Majesty. Friendship and integrity can't be bought with money. The queen glared at them both, her anger boiling. Very well, she said coldly, but mark my words, this isn't over. With that, she turned and left, her guards following closely behind. Obinna and Norma watched as the queen left, feeling a mix of relief and resolve. Obinna looked at his mother, determination in his eyes. We won't let her scare us, Mom. Ada needs to know that we stand by her. Norma nodded, pride swelling in her heart. You are right, Obinna. We will stand by our friends, no matter what. Back at the palace, the queen seated with anger, plotting her next move. She refused to let Ada slip away, and was determined to break the bond between her and Obinna, no matter the cost. The tension between Queen Chioma, Ada and Obinna continues to escalate. Determined not to lose Ada to Obinna, the queen seeks more ruthless method to break their bond. She hires a private investigator to dig deeper into Obinna's past, hoping to find something to leverage against him. Meanwhile, Ada, oblivious to the queen's actions, grew closer to Obinna, relying on his support and friendship more than ever. In a twist of fate, Onyeka starts to see Ada in a different light, witnessing her unwavering loyalty and strength in the face of his mother's relentless pressure begins to change his perception. He starts to regret his harsh words and actions, realizing that his mother's obsession with control is driving Ada away. Ada's final exams are approaching, and she throws herself into her studies, trying to block out the turmoil in her personal life. Obinna continues to support her, encouraging her to stay focused and not to let the queen's threats derail her future. The queen's investigator uncovers a secret from Obinna's past that she believes will finally give her the upper hand. She plans to use this information to blackmail him into leaving Ada. As she prepares to execute her plan, the queen is unaware that her actions are pushing Onyeka further away and solidifying the bond between Ada and Obinna. Queen Chioma had been visiting Obinna again, determined to execute her plan. Since her last visit to Norma's house, something about Norma had bothered her, but she kept brushing it away. Losing Ada was what occupied her mind. When Queen Chioma arrived at Obinna's house, Norma's eyes widened. She recognized the woman standing before her. This was Queen Chioma, the queen whose son she had stolen all these years ago. Her heart raced with fear, and her mind reeled with the implications. Queen Chioma noticed that Norma's face looked familiar, but she couldn't quite place her. She tried to remember, her mind flashing back to the day she had handed her son to a cleaner in the health center. Seeing the look on the queen's face, Norma tried to run, but her legs felt heavy, and her body trembled with guilt. She knew she couldn't escape the queen's wrath. Stop right there, woman, Queen Chioma commanded. Norma's eyes dropped, and her body shook uncontrollably. She knew she was caught. The queen's grip on Norma's shirt tightened as she glared at her with a mix of anger and betrayal. You are the cleaner who stole my son from me all those years ago in the health center, she accused. Norma struggled to free herself, her eyes wide with fear. Leave me alone. I don't know what you are talking about, she cried out, but the queen's grip only tightened. The queen's guard moved in, their faces stern. My queen, we can call the police if you like, one of them suggested, eyeing Norma with suspicion. The mention of the police seemed to snap Norma back to reality. She knew she couldn't escape the truth any longer. Okay, okay, I will let you know everything. Please let me tell you everything, she stammered, her eyes darting to Obinna, who was watching the scene unfold with disbelief. The queen's eyes narrowed. You would better start talking. Better start talking right away. I'm fast about it. Where is my son? Norma's eyes dropped and her voice was low. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I was desperate, lonely, and childless. When you handed me the prince, I became greedy and couldn't bear the thought of giving him up. I know I've caused you so much pain, but please forgive me. The queen's expression turned icy cold. Forgive you? You expect me to forgive you after what you've done? You destroyed my marriage, my family, and my life. Where is my son? Norma's eyes rose and her gaze locked onto Obinna. That's your son, Your Majesty, she said, her voice trembling. Obinna is your son. The queen's eyes widened in shock as she stared at Obinna. Queen Chioma's hand released its grip on Norma's shirt and she turned to Obinna, her eyes overflowing with tears. She reached out to trembling hands and held his cheek, her voice barely above a whisper. My son. She quickly hugged him, her arms wrapping tightly around his body. Obinna stood like a statue, trying to process what was happening. What is going on here? Obinna asked, his voice laced with confusion and disbelief. Norma's eyes dropped and her voice was barely audible. My son, I'm sorry. The queen is your real mother. I stole you from her years ago in the health center. Obinna's eyes widened in shock. I don't believe it, she said, his voice shaking. This seems like a dream. You're lying, Mom. You have to be. The queen's grip on Obinna tightened, her eyes pleading with him to believe her. It's the truth, my son. I'm your real mother. She stole you from me, and I've been searching for you ever since. Obinna's eyes darted between Norma and the queen, his mind struggling to comprehend the shocking revelation. His world was turned upside down, and he didn't know what to believe. After Queen Chioma composed herself, she turned to Norma with a stern expression. My ears and eyes won't be the only ones to hear and see this, she said. The kingdom and the king will hear this. Come with me, Norma. You will face the consequences of your actions. Norma nodded, knowing she had no choice. Obinna tried to intervene, begging Queen Chioma to spare his mother, but she stood firm. I'm sorry, Obinna, Queen Chioma said, but justice must be served. Your mother's action cannot be unpunished. Obinna reluctantly joined his mother and the queen in the car, her heart heavy with worry. As they journeyed to the east, he couldn't help but think about the fate that awaited him and his mother, Norma. The next day, they arrived at the kingdom. Norma was taken aback by the familiar surroundings. She had lived in the kingdom many years ago, and the memories came flooding back. They immediately headed to the palace. King Emeka welcomed his wife, Queen Chioma, with a warm embrace, but his expression turned puzzled when he saw Norma and Obinna. Who are these people? He asked, his voice laced with curiosity. Queen Chioma took a deep breath before narrating the shocking tale of how Norma had stolen their son, Obinna, from the health center many years ago. The king's face turned red and rage as he listened. He couldn't contain himself, and with a swift motion, he walked close to Norma and slapped Norma across her face. You wicked woman, King Emeka thundered. You stole my son many years ago. How dare you? Obinna tried to intervene, pleading with his father to spare Norma, but his words fell on deaf ears. The king called the police to arrest Norma, and Obinna was left feeling helpless and torn between his loyalty to his mother and his newfound real parents. As Norma was taken away by the police, Queen Chioma hugged Obinna tightly, tears streaming down her face. My son, I'm sorry for all the years we've lost you, but now that we've found you, we will never let you go again. Obinna, still in shock, hugged his mother back. I don't know what to say. This is all so overwhelming. King Emeka joined them, his anger dissipating as he looked at his son. Welcome home, Obinna. We will get through this together as a family. Obina's world was turned upside down. He couldn't believe that his whole life had been a lie. He felt angry, hurt, and betrayed by Nnoma's actions. But as he looked at her, he saw the fear and remorse in her eyes, and his heart went out to her. "Father, please," Obina begged King Emeka, "don't punish her too harshly. She may have made a mistake, but she's still my mother." King Emeka's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. "I will do what is just, my son, but I promise you, Nnoma will face the consequences of her actions." As the police took Nnoma away, Obina felt a sense of loss and confusion. He felt so lonely in the palace. Everything still new to him. He struggled to accept his new reality. The queen showered Obina with much attention, but he wasn't happy because his mom, Nnoma, was still in jail. The king tried all he could to brighten his mood, but to no avail. Obina felt like his new home was a prison, and he felt trapped. The king, noticing Obina's loneliness and his struggles to bond with them, decided to call Onyeka to come home from school. The king informed Onyeka that his long-lost brother had returned home. Onyeka was overjoyed with the news and decided to leave school immediately to meet his brother. Meanwhile, Obina called Ada and explained his situation to her, revealing that her godmother, the queen, was her real biological mother. Ada was surprised but promised Obina she would come visit him. After their conversation, Ada called her mom, Sarah, to share the news. Sarah was thrilled and told Ada they would visit the palace together to congratulate the queen on finding her lost son when Sarah returned from school. Onyeka returned home, eager to meet his long-lost brother. He quickly greeted the king and his mom, Chioma, and asked where his brother was. "He's in his room," the king replied. "Let's go see him. He's struggling to adjust here." They went to Obina's room, knocked on the door, and Obina asked them to come in. As Onyeka entered the room first, he was shocked to see Obina, the same Obina who is very close to Ada. Onyeka had a mixed reaction, trying to hug Obina but feeling somehow awkward. The brothers stood there, unsure of what to say or do next, their hearts filled with a mix of emotions. They had a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about, but for now, they just stood there, trying to process their newfound brotherhood. Within a short space of days, Obina and Onyeka started bonding, sharing stories about their upbringing and experiences. However, Obina still felt a distance from his real parents, the king and queen. Despite their efforts to connect with him, Obina's heart seemed somewhere else. The king and queen, concerned about Obina's distant behavior, called him to a private meeting. "Obina, our son, we are glad to have you back after all these years," the king said, his voice filled with emotion. "But we notice you are not bonding with us like you have with Onyeka. What can we do to change that?" Obina looked at them with a determined gaze. "Release my mom, Nnoma, from jail. I know what she did was wrong, but she is kind to me and sacrificed so much for my education. Please forgive her for my sake, and I will be happy." The king's expression softened. "Is that all, Obina? If we release Nnoma, you start accepting us and bonding with us like you have with Onyeka?" Obina nodded. "Yes, father. If you do that for me, I'll be glad and happy, and I can start building a relationship with you and mother. I promise." The king nodded. "I understand. I will grant your request next week. I'm currently occupied with kingdom activities, but I promise you, Obina, I will release Nnoma from jail. Thank you for being honest with us, son." Obina's face lit up with a smile. "Thank you, father. Thank you, mother. I appreciate it." The king and queen smiled, hoping that this was the start of a new chapter in their relationship with their long-lost son. A week later, Obina, Onyeka, and the royal guards arrived at the station to release Nnoma. She returned alongside the prince, apologizing profusely to the king and queen once again. Kneeling before them, she thanked them for her release. Ada and her mother Sarah entered the palace. They approached the queen, congratulating her on her return of her son. Ada then made her way to Obina, who was sitting on a nearby couch. "Congratulations on finding your lost home," she said with a warm smile. Obina's expression turned serious. I'm angry with you, Ada. I called you all this while, but you refused to come. Ada apologized. I'm sorry, Obinna. I've been busy in school. It's fine. I know school comes first. Ada added, I know you were just teasing me, Obinna. Obinna laughed. You are right, I was just joking. The two friends laughed together, their friendship evident. Onyeka watched from afar, a thoughtful expression on his face. Onyeka stood up, his eyes fixed on his parents. Father, I have something to say. The king nodded, encouraged him to continue. Father, Mom, what Norma did was wrong. Thank you for releasing her. Please forgive her and ask her to stand up. The king smiled, and Norma stood up and sat down. The king praised Onyeka. You are not very mature. I like this. Onyeka continued. Father, I have always prayed for my long lost brother to return home, which he did. I have noticed Ada and Obinna are very close. I wish Obinna and Ada to get married instead of me. The queen's face turned a deep shade of crimson as her rage boiled over like a pot about to overflow. No, 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 that is not possible. She thundered, her voice echoing through the palace like a stormy weather. Ada will marry you, Onyeka, not Obinna, she insisted, her eyes blazing with fury. The king's calm demeanor starkly contrasted with the queen's fury, like a peaceful lake on a summer day. My dear, let us hear Ada's choice, he said, his voice soothing like a gentle breeze. But the queen would not be swayed, her determination like a rock. Onyeka must marry Ada, she insisted, her eyes flashing like lightning. Onyeka already said he won't marry her. Let's hear from Ada, the king said, turning to Ada. Which of my sons would you love to marry, my dear? Ada's smile was radiant like the sun as she made her choice clear. I choose Obinna, she said, her voice steady like a rock. The queen's anger reached a fever pitch, like a volcano about to erupt. It won't happen, she shouted, her voice dripping with venom like a snake. You will not marry Obinna, you will marry Onyeka. Why insist on Onyeka, who has already said he does not want Ada? And Ada also does not want Onyeka, but Obinna. The king asked calmly. Onyeka will marry Ada, that is final, the queen said, standing up and starting to leave. The king asked her to stop. My final decision, Ada will marry Obinna, the king said firmly. It's impossible. It can't happen. Abomination! 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 The queen screamed, leaving everyone in surprise. Obinna stood up and addressed the queen. Mom, calm down. He turned to the king and continued, well, father, I don't have romantic feelings towards Ada. She's a friend, a study mate, and like a kid sister I never had. I wish to pursue further academic studies. Ada is still in school. Let her concentrate and graduate with flying colors before considering marriage. He turned to Onyeka and said, thank you for respecting me and having my best interest at heart. If I return from my studies, I will consider marrying Ada, but if only she's still single. For now, I'm not interested. The queen's heart felt at peace, hiding her true motives. King Emeka smiled, impressed with Obinna's words. Obinna, that's wise of you, but you mentioned that if you return from your studies and Ada is still single, you will consider marrying her. I want to bless your future union as husband and wife. He asked Ada and Obinna to kneel down. And as they did, he raised his hands to pray for their future together. But Queen Chioma suddenly shouted, stop it! It can't happen! It's an abomination! The king asked, confused, why do you call it an abomination, Chioma? Onyeka asked, Mom, what's gotten over you? Sarah added, my queen, you should be happy one of your sons will marry Ada, whom you have always loved. The queen's voice rose. Everything that's happened is an abomination. She dragged Obinna and Ada to their feet, preventing them from kneeling again. The king tried to proceed, but the queen's outburst persisted. I said, this is an abomination. Stop it, my king. The king's eyes narrowed, his voice laced with frustration. What is the meaning of this, Chioma? He demanded. The prayer itself is an affront. The queen spat, her face contorted in a mix of anger and desperation. The king's expression turned stern, his words dripping with warning. I don't know what darkness has consumed you, my queen, but I suggest you retreat to your chambers and collect your rest. Do not interrupt me again, lest you face my wrath. The king turned to Obina and Ada, his tone softening. My children, please kneel down again. Let me pray for both of you. He raised his hands, ready to bestow his blessings, but Choma dragged them back, her voice rising to a frantic pitch. It's an abomination, a big sin. You cannot bless this union. She glared at the king, her eyes blazing with determination. Sarah's brow furrowed in confusion. What sin, my queen? How can our children's happiness be a sin or an abomination? The queen's eyes flashed with a wise intensity, her words trembling out in a mad rush. You don't understand, Sarah. The king's patience wore thin. Guards, take the queen from here. She's lost her senses. The guards moved to escort Queen Choma from the room, but she wrestled free, her voice echoing through the hall. Don't pray for them, my king. They are siblings, your own children. The very thought is incestuous. The room fell silent, the air thick with shock and disbelief. Time itself seemed to freeze, as if the queen's words had struck a chord of horror in all who heard them. The king stood up from his royal chair, his eyes blazing with anger, and the entire room gazed at Chioma in shock. What do you mean they are siblings? The king demanded, his voice thundering through the hall. Chioma, tears streaming down her face. Chioma replied, my king, I'm sorry, they are siblings. I did everything out of desperation. It happened many years ago when I got pregnant with Ada, she said, pointing to Ada, who looked shocked and confused. You told me if I didn't give birth to a son, I would lose you and your love. You would send me away and marry another woman. The queen's words poured out in a torrent of despair, out of desperation. When I gave birth, another woman also gave birth, she said, pointing to Sarah. She gave birth to Onyeka. I switched the babies just to keep my marriage. Because if I had told you I gave birth to a girl, you would not only drive me away, but I wouldn't know the fate of my daughter. So that is why I did what I did. But I made sure I stayed in Ada's life. I hired a fake kidnapper to try and kidnap Ada, and I came to their rescue and entered Ada's life by that means. The king's face turned red with rage. So you did all these evil things. You are a devil, he shouted. Onyeka's eyes widened in shock. Mom, do you mean I'm not your real son? He asked, his voice trembling. Ada still looked confused, her eyes darting between the queen and the king. So all this fake love and care you have been showing me all these years, it's because you stole my son? Sarah asked, her voice laced with pain and betrayal. The king's anger boiled over, and he quickly dialed the police on his phone. Come to my house immediately, he backed into the receiver. But Obina quickly snatched the phone from the king's hand and spoke into it. Do not come. It's a family matter. We will handle it ourselves. He turned to the king. Obina stepped forward, his voice calm and authoritative. Father, who are you calling the police to arrest? The queen or yourself? You are equally to blame for this situation. The king's face turned red with anger, but Obina continued, his words piercing the tension in the room. Mother, what you did was so wrong. But father, you are to blame for perpetuating a harmful belief that has destroyed many marriages. You blamed mother for not producing a male heir. But the truth is, the gender of a child is determined by the father, not the mother. Obina turned to the king, his eyes locked on his. Every woman has SS chromosomes, while every man has XY chromosomes. When a man and woman conceive, the man's sperm determines the sex of the child. If the sperm carries an X chromosome, the child will be a girl, and if it carries a Y chromosome, the child will be a boy. When Choma's eyes widened, a look of understanding dawning on her face. So you mean it's not my fault that I had a girl? She asked Obina. Obina nodded. Exactly, mother. It's not your fault. Father, your desire for a male heir led you to blame mother. And that blame led to this tragic situation. But it's not too late to learn from our mistakes and move forward. The king's face softened, his eyes filled with a newfound understanding. Obinna, my son, you are right. I was blind to the truth, and my blindness led to this pain. Forgive me, Chioma, my queen. Forgive me, Ada and Onyeka, my children. And forgive me, Sarah, for my part in this deception. Sarah's eyes welled up with tears as the king and queen turned to her. Forgive me, Sarah, the queen said, her voice barely above a whisper. I was so blinded by my desire to keep my marriage that I didn't see the harm I was causing. Can you ever forgive me? Sarah nodded, her face wet with tears. I forgive you both. I know that you were both acting out of desperation and fear, but I am glad that the truth is finally out and we can move forward from here. As the truth finally came to light, the room was filled with tears of joy and reconciliation. Sarah embraced Onyeka, her long lost son, holding him tightly as they both wept with happiness. Ada, with a heart full of forgiveness, hugged her mother Chioma and then her father the king. I love you both, she said, her voice trembling with emotion, and I forgive you, mother, for your mistakes. The king and queen, overjoyed to have their children back, held them close, never wanting to let them go again. Noma, who had been watching from the sidelines, felt a weight lift off her shoulders as she saw the family reunited. She knew that she had played a part in their pain, but she was glad to see that they had found forgiveness and happiness. As they all hugged each other, the room was filled with laughter and tears of joy. The king and queen promised to never let their family torn apart again. As the days turned into weeks, Obinna grew more confident in his role as a prince. He spent time with the king, learning about leadership and the responsibilities that came with it. King Emeka was proud of his son and enjoyed teaching him the ways of the kingdom. Queen Chioma also spent a lot of time with Obinna. She shared stories about their family history and the traditions that were important to them. Obinna loved listening to these stories and felt a deep connection to his heritage. One day, Queen Chioma said to Obinna, my son, you are destined for great things. You have a kind heart and a strong spirit. I know you will make a wonderful king someday. Obinna felt a warmth in his heart. Thank you, Mom. I will do my best to make you and father proud. Meanwhile, Ada was excelling in her studies and making new friends in the palace. She enjoyed her lessons and was eager to learn everything she could about the kingdom. She and Obinna often shared their experiences and supported each other through the change they were facing. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, King Emeka raised his glass and said, to our family, we have faced many challenges, but we have come through them stronger and more united. Let us always remember the importance of love, forgiveness, and togetherness. The family clinked their glasses and smiled at each other, feeling a sense of hope and happiness. As time went on, Obinna continued to visit Noma. He wanted to make sure she knew that she still cared for her, despite everything that had happened. During one of the visits, Noma said to him, Obinna, I am so proud of the person you have become. You are wise, kind, and compassionate. Your parents must be very proud of you too. Obinna smiled. Thank you, Mom. I want to make sure that everyone I care about is happy. That includes you. Norma's eyes filled with tears. You have a big heart, my son. I am so grateful to have had the chance to be your mother, even if it was only for a short time. Obinna hugged her tightly. You will always be part of my life, Mom, and I will always love you. Back at the palace, Obinna and Ada continued to grow and learn. They made new memories and strengthened their bond as siblings. Queen Chioma and King Emeka were always there to guide and support them, ensuring they felt loved and valued. The family faced many challenges, but they overcame them with love and understanding. They learned that forgiveness and unity were the keys to healing and happiness. As they stood together in the palace garden, looking out at their beautiful kingdom, Obinna said, "We have come a long way, but this is just the beginning. Our future is bright, and we will face it together as a family." The king, queen, Ada and Obinna smiled at each other, knowing that they were ready to take on whatever came their way. They were united by the bond of family, and that bond would carry them through any challenges they might face. And so, the family continued to heal, finding joy in their love for one another. They knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but they were ready to face it together, with hearts full of love and hope. Back in the palace, life was slowly returning to normal. King Emeka and Queen Chioma were happy to have their children, Obinna and Ada, with them. However, there was still one matter they needed to resolve. Onyeka. Onyeka was living with his real mother, Sarah, but the king and queen had grown attached to him. After all, they had raised him since he was a baby. They wanted Onyeka to live with them in the palace so they could all be together as a family. One sunny afternoon, the king and queen invited Onyeka and Sarah to the palace to discuss the matter. The king began the conversation with a gentle smile. "Onyeka, we would like you to live here with us. You are our son, and we have always loved you. This palace is your home." Onyeka listened carefully and then replied, "Thank you, father. I appreciate your love and care, but I can't leave my real mother, Sarah, alone. She needs someone too, and I need to bond with her as my real mother." Queen Chioma's eyes softened with understanding. "We understand you, Onyeka. It's important for you to be with Sarah, but please know that you are always welcome here. The palace is your home, and Sarah is welcome too." Sarah, who was sitting quietly, looked at the queen and said, "Thank you for your kindness, your majesty. Onyeka and I will visit often. We want to be a part of your lives too." The king nodded. "That's wonderful to hear. We want to be one big family, supporting each other." Despite this arrangement, there were still challenges. Ada and Onyeka found it difficult to get along at first. They had grown up separately and had different experiences. They didn't always understand each other, and sometimes they argued. One day, Ada and Onyeka were sitting in the palace garden trying to study together. Ada sighed. "Onyeka, why is it hard for us to get along? We are supposed to be family." Onyeka looked thoughtful. "I think it's because we have lived different lives. We didn't grow up together, so we don't know each other well." Ada nodded. "Maybe you are right, but we can try to get to know each other better. We can be friends even if it takes time." As the days went by, Ada and Onyeka made an effort to spend more time together. They played games, helped each other with their studies, and shared stories about their childhoods. Slowly, they started to see each other as friends. As they shared their stories, they realized they had more in common than they thought. They began to understand and appreciate each other more. Meanwhile, Obinna was adjusting to his new life in the palace. He missed Nneoma, the woman who had raised him, but he was also getting to know his real parents, the king and queen. They were patient with him, understanding the difficulty of his situation. One day, Queen Chioma sat down with Obinna and said, "My son, I know that it is hard for you, but we are here for you and we will support you in every way. You are our son and we love you very much." Obinna nodded. "Thank you, Mom. It's just that I miss Nneoma. She may have done something terrible, but she was the only mother I knew for so long." Queen Chioma's eyes softened. "I know, my dear, and we will do everything we can to help you stay connected with her. But remember, we are your family too, and we will always be here for you." Obinna hugged his mother, feeling a sense of comfort. "I'll try my best to adjust, Mom. Thank you for understanding." As time passed, the family began to heal. Onyeka and Ada became closer friends, learning to trust each other and rely on one another. They faced challenges together and supported each other through difficult times. One evening, the family gathered for dinner in the grand dining. King Emeka looked around the table at his children and smiled. I am so proud of all of you, he said. We have faced many challenges, but we have come through them stronger and more united. Let us always remember that family is important. Back in Sarah's house, life was also changing. Sarah was happy to see Onyeka becoming close to his siblings. She often visited the palace and spent time with the royal family. She and Queen Chioma had many long talks, learning to understand and respect each other. One day, Sarah and Chioma were sitting in the garden watching their children. Sarah said, I never imagined our lives would turn out this way, but I am grateful for your kindness and understanding. Queen Chioma smiled. I am grateful too, Sarah. Our children have taught us a lot about forgiveness and love. I am glad we can be a family despite everything that has happened. As the days went by, the family continued to grow closer. They faced challenges together and celebrated their victories. They knew that the road ahead would not always be easy, but they were ready to face it together, united by the bond of family. One day, King Emeka called Onyeka to his study. Onyeka, he said, I want you to know that you have a special place in this family. You are a part of us, and we love you very much. You will always have a home here. Onyeka felt a warmth in his heart. Thank you, Father. That means a lot to me. I'll do my best to make you proud. The king smiled. I know you will, my son. We are proud of you already. As the family stood together in the palace garden, looking out at their beautiful kingdom, they knew that they were ready to face the future. They were united by the bond of family, and that bond would carry them through any challenges they might face. Obinna, Ada, and Onyeka smiled at each other, knowing that they were stronger together. They had learned the importance of love, forgiveness, and togetherness, and they were ready to face whatever the future might bring. As time passed, the bond between Obinna, Ada, and Onyeka grew stronger. They supported each other through challenges and celebrated their successes together. The palace became a place of love, laughter, unity, where everyone felt at home. One bright morning, King Emeka called for a family meeting in the grand hall. The room was filled with anticipation as the family gathered. The king stood before them, his eyes filled with pride and warmth. My beloved family, he began, we have come a long way. We have faced many challenges, but we have overcome them together. Today, I want to celebrate our journey and the love that binds us. He looked at Obinna, Ada, and Onyeka. You three have shown incredible strength and resilience. You have learned to support each other and have grown into remarkable individuals. I am proud of each of you. Queen Chioma stepped forward, her eyes shining with tears of joy. We have learned the importance of forgiveness and understanding. Our family is stronger because of the love we share. Let us always remember to cherish and support one another. The family members exchanged smiles and hugs, feeling the warmth of their unity. They knew that their journey had not been easy, but their love had carried them through. One day, as they sat in the palace garden, Ada said, we have all grown so much. I used to think we were so much different, but now I see that we have so much in common. Onyeka nodded. I'm glad we have become friends. It's nice to have siblings who understand and support each other. Obinna added, we have learned to forgive and move forward. Our family is a testament to the power of love. The years passed. The family continued to thrive. Obinna pursued his academic studies, always remembering the lessons he had learned from his parents. Ada excelled in her own endeavors, finding her path with support of her family. Onyeka balanced his time between his real mother, Sarah, and the palace, cherishing the bonds he had with both families. Sarah often visited the palace, sharing in the family's joys and challenges. She and Queen Chioma developed a deep friendship, supporting each other through life's ups and downs. One evening, as the sun set over the kingdom, the family gathered for a special celebration. It was the anniversary of the day they had all been reunited. The palace was filled with music, laughter, and the aroma of delicious food. King Emeka raised his glass, his voice filled with emotion. To my family, the greatest blessing of my life, may our love continue to grow and may we continue to stand together. The family clinched their glasses, feeling the love and unity that had brought them together. As the celebration continued, Obinna, Ada, and Onyeka sat together, reflecting on their journey. They had faced many challenges, but their love for each other had carried them through. We are stronger together, Ada said, smiling at her brothers. Yes, we are. Onyeka agreed. Our bond is unbreakable. Obinna nodded. And we will always be here for each other no matter what. The family danced and laughed, enjoying the joyous occasion. They knew that life would continue to present challenges, but they were confident in their ability to overcome them together. As the night drew to a close, the family stood together, looking out at their beautiful kingdom. They knew that their love and unity were the greatest treasure they possessed. They were ready to face whatever the future might bring, united by the bond of family. And so, the family lived happily ever after, cherishing the love and unity that had brought them together. They faced each challenges with courage and strength, and knowing that their bond was unbreakable. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.